In Washington, an emergency can start with a closed trail, a snake under a boot, or a deer appearing in a lane at dusk. In June 2026, WDFW closed the King County Trail after a human black bear incident while officers searched. Across eastern Washington, the western rattlesnake is the state's only venomous snake, while deer and elk lead reported wildlife collisions statewide. That is why danger does not always mean an attack. It can mean venom, tick-borne disease, a moose defending a calf, or a bear that learned food is waiting near people. This is an editorial ranking, not an official state index. We weigh severity, exposure, statewide reach, Washington evidence, and how human behavior escalates an encounter. Here are 15 Washington animals ranked by real risk. At number 15, the California sea lion is a reminder that a powerful animal does not need to be hunting people to be dangerous. Sea lions move through Puget Sound, coastal inlets, river mouths, and fishing areas. Their barking and hauling out behavior can make them look almost tame, especially when people see them resting near docks. That appearance is misleading. An adult sea lion has strong jaws, sharp teeth, and a body built for pushing through water and defending space. A person who tries to touch one, feed one, or block its path can turn a quiet shoreline into a bite or knockdown hazard. Dogs are especially vulnerable when they are allowed to rush toward a marine mammal on the beach. Washington shoreline guidance follows NOAA's basic rule: stay at least 50 yards away, keep pets controlled, and never touch, feed, or swim with a sea lion. Direct attacks are uncommon, so simple distance keeps this animal at number 15. At number 14, the black widow spider is small enough to disappear inside the places people reach without looking. Garages, wood piles, sheds, gloves, flower pots, and undisturbed corners provide shelter close to homes, especially in warmer and drier parts of the state. Washington has many harmless spiders. The Washington Department of Health identifies the black widow and yellow sac spider as the two spiders of medical significance, while the Washington Poison Center describes black widow bites as rare but capable of extreme pain and muscle cramping. The spider is not looking for a person. Most trouble begins when a hand presses against a web or a stored object traps the animal against skin. The danger is conditional, not constant. Shake out boots and gloves and never handle a spider to identify it. Its venom can create a medical problem, but avoidable exposure keeps it near the bottom. At number 13 is the mountain goat, an animal people often approach because it appears calm, white, and perfectly adapted to the cliffs. In Washington, that calm can be misleading. Goats may become habituated to trails and campsites, especially when they learn that people provide salt through sweat, clothing, or urine. Washington wildlife officials record a fatal Olympic National Park encounter in 2010 when an aggressive mountain goat killed a hiker. That event was rare, but it demonstrated the consequence of a large animal with horns and no reason to retreat. A goat that keeps walking toward a person is not offering a photo opportunity. It may be testing distance or expecting the human to move. The National Park Service recommends at least 25 yards from large animals. WDFW advises 50 yards from goats. Never feed, crowd, or chase one. Move away before it owns the trail. At number 12 are Washington's grizzly bears and gray wolves. This is one ranked slot containing two species with the same evidence profile. Powerful predators with serious consequences, but limited direct human exposure. WDFW classifies wolves, cougars, and grizzly bears as predatory wildlife under state law. Grizzlies occupy a small portion of northeastern Washington, while wolves are more widely distributed but still avoid people in normal conditions. A bear protecting food or a cub, or a wolf defending a den or carcass, is not behaving like an animal in a documentary. It is responding to a close threat. The rarity matters. A distant wolf or grizzly is not proof that a trail is unsafe, but surprise, carcasses, camp food, and close photographs can change the encounter. Keep the distance required by park and wildlife officials. Carry appropriate deterrents in bear country, and never feed either species. At number 11, raccoons and skunks create a more ordinary kind of wildlife problem. They live around farms, parks, garbage areas, sheds, and neighborhoods, where their contact with people and pets is much more likely than that of a grizzly. Washington's Department of Health makes an important distinction. Bats are the only animal known to be a rabies reservoir in the state. That does not make every raccoon or skunk bite harmless. A bite or scratch can require wound care, animal control evaluation, and a public health decision about testing or treatment. Saliva, feces, and contaminated material can also carry other hazards, especially when people try to rescue, corner, or hand feed a wild animal. Never assume a strange animal is friendly or a young raccoon is safe to pick up. Keep pets away, secure garbage, and call authorities for an injured or aggressive animal. Their shared urban exposure keeps them above rare predators. At number 10, the coyote has adapted to Washington's human landscape better than many people realize. WDFW reports coyotes across the state from shrub steppe to suburban corridors and says their numbers are increasing in some areas. A coyote usually wants to avoid a person. The problem begins when food rewards erase that fear. Unsecured garbage, pet food, compost, bird feeders, and outdoor cats can create a neighborhood where coyotes learn that people mean opportunity. A small dog on a dark walk can become the center of a conflict, and a coyote that has been fed may approach instead of retreating. If one approaches, do not run. Stand tall, make eye contact, shout, wave your arms, and use humane hazing. Keep children supervised and pets leashed, especially at dawn, dusk, and night. Broad exposure keeps the coyote at number 10, even though severe adult attacks are unusual. At number 9, the mosquito turns a tiny bite into a conditional public health threat. Washington has more than 40 mosquito species, and the State Department of Health identifies vectors of West Nile virus, Western equine encephalitis, and St. Louis encephalitis. Most mosquito bites remain a nuisance. The danger appears when a mosquito carries a virus and finds a person who can become seriously ill. That chain depends on season, habitat, local virus activity, and the particular mosquito species. It is not accurate to call every Washington mosquito infected, but it is equally wrong to treat mosquito control as cosmetic. Standing water in buckets, tires, gutters, and containers gives mosquitoes places to reproduce. Repellent, long sleeves, screens, and removing water reduce exposure. The contact opportunity is enormous, while severe disease remains conditional. At number 8, the bat carries one of Washington's most serious animal-to-human disease pathways. Bats are the only animal known to be a rabies reservoir in the state. Most bats are not infected, and most are trying to avoid people, but that is not a reason to handle one found on the ground or inside a home. A bite can be tiny and easy to miss. A sleeping person, a child, or a pet may not recognize the contact, which is why a bat in a bedroom requires public health advice rather than guesswork. Rabies exposure is evaluated through the circumstances, the animal, and testing when possible. Do not touch the bat with bare hands. Keep people and pets away, and contact local health authorities for instructions. The bat ranks above mosquitoes because exposure is less frequent, but the consequence of an untreated exposure is far more serious. The correct response is prompt professional assessment. At number 7, the tick hides in grass and brush, rather than announcing itself with teeth or a warning sound. Washington's Department of Health lists 4 common tick species known to bite people and documents risks that include Lyme disease, anaplasmosis, babesiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, tick-borne relapsing fever, tick paralysis, and tularemia. Those names do not mean every tick carries every disease. Risk changes by species, life stage, location, and whether the tick has fed. The problem is that a person can leave a trail feeling fine and discover the animal hours later, attached to skin beneath clothing. Use repellent, wear clothing that makes crawling ticks visible, and check skin, gear, and pets after outdoor activity. Remove attached ticks promptly and take symptoms seriously. Ticks rank above bats for realistic trail exposure. At number 6, deer and elk convert one of Washington's most familiar wildlife sites into a transportation hazard. WSDOT says deer and elk are the animals most often involved in reported wildlife vehicle collisions across the state. The danger is not an animal charging a hiker. It is a heavy body entering a lane at the exact moment a driver has no room to react. A deer crossing the road may be followed by another deer, a fawn, or an entire group. Elk can appear near forest edges, fields, and highways at dawn, dusk, and during seasonal movement. Swerving can turn a collision into a rollover or a head-on crash, which is why transportation guidance focuses on braking while staying in the lane when impact is unavoidable. Washington uses fencing and wildlife crossings to reduce collisions, with studies showing reductions of 80 to 99% where they work together. Drivers still need to slow down in marked corridors and watch the shoulders. Deer and elk rank high because exposure is widespread. At number 5, the moose brings a larger body, longer legs, and a sharper defensive zone to the same landscape. A cow with a calf can treat a trail, yard, or roadside as protected ground. A bull during the breeding season can also be unpredictable, but the danger does not depend on antler size. A frightened moose can kick, charge, or force a person into traffic or rough terrain. Moose are also part of the collision story. Their height and weight can push through a windshield, creating a severe risk for vehicle occupants. Never stop in the lane for a closer photograph. Give the animal a wide route. Keep dogs leashed, never approach a calf, and stay at least 25 yards away. Moose rank above deer and elk because each encounter carries more force. At number 4, bees and wasps are the most familiar serious threat on this list. Washington's Department of Health notes that yellowjackets become aggressive scavengers in late summer and fall. Wasps can sting repeatedly, and a nest hidden under an eave, in a wall, or in the ground can turn routine yard work into a concentrated attack. For most people, one sting means local pain, redness, and swelling. For a person with a severe allergy, one sting can trigger anaphylaxis, trouble breathing, swelling of the face or mouth, dizziness, or collapse. Multiple stings increase the danger even when no allergy is known. Do not swat at an insect near your face. Cover food and drinks, remove fallen fruit and garbage, and run towards shelter if a group attacks. Keep prescribed epinephrine accessible. Everyday exposure and rapid allergic reactions put bees and wasps at number 4. At number 3, the cougar is the quiet predator most likely to make a familiar Washington trail feel suddenly different. Cougars use forests, foothills, rural edges, and corridors where deer and elk are available. WDFW says adult cougars commonly prey on deer, elk, moose, mountain goats, and wild sheep, which means the animal can move through places people also use for recreation. A sighting is not the same as an attack. Most cougars avoid people. The warning signs are behavior, an animal that does not leave, follows, approaches, or shows unusual interest in a child or pet. Running can activate a chase response, especially when a small animal is involved. Stand tall, keep children close, give the cougar an escape route, and make yourself appear difficult to hunt. If it attacks, fight back and report the encounter immediately. The cougar ranks 3rd because the worst outcome can be catastrophic, and development keeps creating overlap. It is not number 1 because direct attacks remain rare. At number 2, the western rattlesnake is Washington's only venomous wild snake. It is common through much of eastern Washington, where warm rocks, dry grass, and rodent-rich habitat create ideal places to encounter people on trails, around buildings, or near campsites. The rattlesnake does not view a hiker as prey. It bites when it is stepped on, cornered, handled, or surprised at close range. A small snake may have a faint rattle, and a snake in brush may be heard only after a person is already too near. Washington Poison Center warns that venom can cause severe swelling and pain and can interfere with blood clotting. WDFW treats every bite as a medical emergency. Move away instead of trying to kill or relocate the snake. Keep the victim calm and still, remove rings or watches, and call 911. Do not cut, suck, ice, or tourniquet the wound. The rattlesnake takes number 2 because time to treatment matters. At number 1 is the black bear. Not because Washington bears are constantly attacking people, but because the overlap between bear habitat and human life is broad enough to create repeated opportunities for a serious mistake. WDFW lists black bears among the conflicts most often reported in the state, alongside cougars, coyotes, and moose. Bears appear in forests, campgrounds, rural properties, and increasingly near the edges of populated areas when food is easy to find. In June 2026, WDFW responded to a human black bear incident in King County and closed the trail while officers searched for the animal. The state has recorded only one fatal black bear attack on a human, in 1974. That history shows both sides of the risk. Attacks are rare, but the consequence is real. Most bear problems begin before the bear arrives. Unsecured garbage, pet food, birdseed, coolers, livestock feed, or a carcass can teach an animal that people provide calories. Once a bear loses its fear, the same behavior can put campers, children, pets, and the bear itself in danger. In bear country, store food and garbage correctly, make noise where visibility is poor, keep dogs controlled, and never approach a bear. If one is close, follow current WDFW or park guidance. The black bear earns number 1 through severity, statewide exposure, current evidence, and human choices that repeatedly pull it toward us. That is the pattern behind the ranking. Washington's risk is not concentrated in one wilderness. It moves through campsites, roads, yards, shorelines, and neighborhoods. The safest response is not panic. It is recognizing the animal's mechanism early and changing your distance before the encounter escalates. Washington's most dangerous animals do not form one single threat. A sea lion is dangerous when people invade its space. A mountain goat becomes a hazard when a trail encounter turns into a close approach. Coyotes and bears learn from food left near homes. Deer, elk, and moose turn wildlife into a highway problem. Mosquitoes, ticks, and bats create risks that may not be visible when exposure occurs. The ranking is therefore not a reason to fear every forest or beach. It is a reminder to match the response to the mechanism. Leave predators room. Slow down in wildlife corridors. Check for ticks. Keep garbage and pet food secure. Treat a rattlesnake bite or allergic reaction as an emergency. And ask public health officials about any bat contact. Washington is not dangerous because wild animals are waiting everywhere. It is dangerous when people mistake distance for safety, a quiet animal for a tame one, or a familiar landscape for a controlled one. Which Washington animal would you move in this ranking? Tell us in the comments.